Good evening and welcome one and all to this impromptu edition of Pacific 414 Pop Talk. I'm your host, Mike. As you probably have already heard, there is some major breaking news as far as the entertainment industry is concerned, especially when it comes to the Walt Disney Company. And that news is that Bob Iger is returning to the Walt Disney Company as CEO and Bob Chapek is stepping down. Let me go ahead and pull up the article here, and then I will give my thoughts on what is going on. Now, I am not a Disney insider. I am not an insider of any way, shape, or form in Hollywood. I'm just somebody who is going to offer his opinion on what might be happening, some speculation as far as to what might be happening with this news. And this, of course, comes from the Hollywood Reporter, and I will go ahead and put the link to this article into the chat. Again, this was an impromptu live stream. I wasn't expecting to go live all of a sudden, but when I saw this news, I knew I couldn't ignore it. So, this article from the Hollywood Reporter, as I said, and as you can see, says Disney shocker. Bob Iger returning as CEO, Bob Chapek exits. Disney's board of directors said that Iger has agreed to serve as Disney's CEO for 2 years with a mandate from the board to set the strategic direction for renewed growth and to identify a successor. Again, this is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. And hello, BK Dan. How are you doing this evening? So, the article opens up by saying, in a stunning turn of events, the Walt Disney Company says Bob Chapek will step down as CEO, with Bob Iger returning to lead the company. Disney's board of directors announced the decision Sunday night. We thank Bob Chapek for his service to Disney over his long career, including navigating the company through the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic, said Susan Arnold, chairman of the board. In a statement, the board has concluded that as Disney embarks on an increasingly complex period of industry transformation, Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead the company through this pivotal period. Yep. Yep. Exactly. So the article continues by saying Chapek had just signed a new multi year contract in June after speculation following the ouster of TV chief Peter Rice earlier that month, and continues to say prompted the board to issue a notable public statement backing the CEO after the move. Iger even acknowledged in an email to Disney employees Sunday that he is returning with an incredible sense of gratitude and humility, and I must admit, a bit of amazement. I have my thoughts on that. While Iger will be returning to his old role, the board also made it clear that his new team will be a temporary one. Iger has agreed to serve as Disney's CEO for 2 years with a mandate from the board to set the strategic direction for renewed growth and to work closely with the board in developing a successor to lead the company at the completion of his term. The board said the revival of the who will Iger's successor question is one that is sure to be hotly debated, given that much of the prior decade saw a wave of executives be speculated about as possibility only to exit or be passed over. Iger stepped aside as CEO in February 2020, handing the reins to Chapek, who previously led the company's theme parks and consumer products division. He continued to serve as executive chairman of the company, stepping down from that position just 11 months ago. Since that time, he found a part time gig at a venture capital firm. It says Thrive Capital is that the name of that firm as a partner, and had been working on a follow up book of his 2019 Ride of a Lifetime. Okay. It also goes on to say, of course, as Arnold noted in her statement, the novel coronavirus pandemic took its toll on the company, well, took its toll on everybody, shutting its theme parks and cruise ships and stopping almost all film and TV production. It almost, however, turbocharged streaming growth, with Chapek leaning into streaming by reorganizing the company to focus on digital. But his tenure has also been rocky, marked with controversies and distractions from the aggressive campaign against Marvel star Scarlett Johansson that resulted in a settlement over pay for Black Widow, to Disney's response or lack thereof to Florida's so called Don't Say Gay bill. Chapek has had to deal with a wide array of public misfires during his relatively brief tenure atop the company. It also goes on to say, but in addition to the public controversies, Disney's business has also begun to falter in recent quarters. Chapek announced on November 11th that the company would freeze hiring and stop all new non essential travel, with layoffs likely to follow as his executive team sought to trim costs. And while Disney gains subscriptions at a rapid clip, some 235 million across Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu, the company's streaming losses have continued to grow to nearly 1.5 billion in its almost recent quarter, making it that much more challenging to hit its profitability target. Iger, a company man since joining ABC in 1974, led the network after Disney acquired it in 1995 and was elevated to CEO of Disney in 2005, succeeding Michael Eisner. While his elevation within the company was due to his business acumen, he developed a reputation for having an elevated sense of taste and creative vision, skills he continued to put to use after stepping aside as CEO in 2020. Iger grew Disney into new heights by acquiring Pixar for 7.4 billion in 2006, Marvel for 4 billion in 2009, and Lucasfilm for 4 billion in 2012, creating a powerhouse that in 2019 saw the company pass 10 billion in global box office sales. The same year, Disney closed the unprecedented 71.3 billion acquisition of Fox, including 20th Century Fox, and it also mentions Fox Searchlight, FX Networks, National Geographic, and creating the content powerhouse. While Iger built a reputation as talent friendly, Chapek's reputation amongst creatives took a hit in July 2021 when the dispute with Johansson over the day and date streaming release of Black Widow went public. The star filed a lawsuit claiming the studio was sacrificing its box office potential in order to juice Disney Plus. Their differing styles and approaches led to something of an oil and water relationship between the two Bobs, as the Hollywood Reporter's Kim Masters reported last year at what was to be his last formal Disney board retreat with the company. Iger implored everyone in the room focus on the virtues of creativity and talent. It says Disney's market cap was roughly 55 billion when Iger took over in 2005, rose to 260 billion in January 2020, and has fallen to 167 billion as of Friday. I am extremely optimistic for the future of this great company and thrilled to be asked by the board to return as its CEO, Iger said in a statement. Disney and its incomparable brands and franchises hold a special place in the hearts of so many people around the globe, most especially in the hearts of our employees whose dedication to this company and its mission as an inspiration. It also goes on to say, I am deeply honored to be asked to again lead this remarkable team with a clear mission focused on creative excellence to inspire generations through unrivaled, bold storytelling. Iger told employees in his note that he will address the company on Monday with other senior leaders. And it finishes up by saying, I know this company has asked so much of you during the past 3 years, and these times certainly remain quite challenging. But as you have heard me say before, I am an optimist. And if I learned one thing from my years at Disney, it is that even in the face of uncertainty, perhaps especially in the face of uncertainty, our employees and cast members achieve the impossible, he wrote. And I do want to say hello to the Smoking Patriot. No, it is no shock. And if you guys want to come on and talk about it, you can. This is going to be a long stream, just so everybody knows, but it's still going to give everybody enough time to come on if they want to come on. And let's see, BK Dan is saying Iger also did a class on masterclass. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And BK Dan says, no, all we need is Alan Horn to come back from Warner Brothers Discovery and we'll have the band back together. Now, I've got to be honest with each and every one of you who are here watching right now. I honestly think that this was part of their plan back in 2020. Now, I have no proof of this. No proof of this. This is just me, giving my thoughts and opinion on this whole situation. But I have a feeling this was their plan from the beginning when Bob Iger stepped down in February of 2020, that Chapek would take over and you would see the company go in a direction that Iger didn't agree with, and the company would start, seeing some losses, whether it be Disney Plus, movies, TV, and then Bob Iger would come riding in on that horse as a hero. That's just my opinion. I may be way off, but you know, it it just it just seems odd to me that 11 months ago Bob Iger stepped down and now he's back. Doesn't that seem a little odd? I might be off. Again, the link is out there if anybody wishes to join and give their thoughts, but it just seems odd to me, you know? It just seems odd that this would happen at this point. Again, I have no insiders. I'm not. a Hollywood insider. I've never worked in Hollywood. I never want to work in Hollywood, but I care about, what goes on with franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek, and with this move happening, what's going to happen with the rest of Disney? Are they going to continue going on their downward spiral that they're on right now? And let's see. BK Dan says, "Oh, I happen to agree. Coincidences happen. I don't trust, but they happen." Exactly. All right, Phil. I'm sure you've
Hey,
read the story already, brother.
yeah, Cash is going to be coming up and joining us too. So,
Okay. Cool. Cool.
brother, I would say this shouldn't be a surprise because a
No,
day
it's not a surprise, but doesn't it seem a little too coincidental? That
I, I
to,
I think that it's twofold. The parks are collapsing.
All right, so are we going in his stream then?
Yes, come on.
come
I'm yelling at
on.
Cash. I'm yelling
Yeah,
at
yeah, I can hear him, and he can hear me yell at him.
Cash.
Just come to the channel, Cash. I put the link in the chat, Cash. Hey, look, we have Bob Chapek. I don't know, Bob. You tell us. What is this madness? You're stepping down, and your old buddy Iger is coming back in, riding in on that horse.
You know what? I think, and this is just my speculation. I have no proof, but at the very
None
beginning,
of us do, Phil. So
yeah, when
speculate.
Iger was leaving, and he said he's going to be assisting him, I don't think he really left. He was using Chapek as a figurehead. There, hold the fort till I decide whatever I'm doing. I know there was speculation that he was supposed to try to run for governor or something like that. But
There was speculation at one
yeah.
point that Iger might run for president in 2024.
I just feel that I just think that they got. What did Chapek really do for the company? I mean, he didn't change anything. I mean, the big thing was at the time, was he going to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy or not? Well, you've seen they really didn't get rid of her. They just renewed her contract. He didn't really do any really changes at Marvel. He just kept the ship going. So, oh my God, it's anonymous.
Yes, welcome Anonymous. I think you know why I decided to go live. This wasn't planned. This was impromptu.
Yeah, I come back and checking out, and I saw he's on. It's like, holy crap, Bob's gone. One of the Bob's gone.
Yeah.
Happy days, but they still brought in Iger. But
do you see the comment that BK Dan put, the last comment?
Yeah, it just popped up.
Yeah. The thing on that, Disney, in that link that I showed you earlier today, I know it's older, they hired a person as so-called president, and they only kept him for like 2 to 3 weeks. Then they fired him. But even the clause in the contract, they had to go to court here in Delaware, was because he had a solid contract. That means even if they fired him, they had to pay him. And the board wanted to pay, but Iger did not. And that's why that lawsuit went in place. I think here, if they did, I think they paid. I think they learned their lesson. So JPEG isn't going to be a poor man out.
Obviously not. He's going to get a parachute. But yeah, he got fired totally. This is all. Trust me, I've seen corporations and how they handle people. And they're. I don't know if I can't remember if the article said fired. I read the whole thing, but yeah, they're stepping down, or they've taken a position somewhere else, or they're going on to better things. It's whatever. It's all fired. You're doing a really crappy job, and us board members got together, and we're going to try to save the company. That's basically what it is.
That's exactly what it is. And Iger's riding in there on his horse, as I keep saying. Be the quote unquote hero.
Yeah, they don't have anybody better He knows the place. He knows how it works. That's why he's only there for 2 years. He's a temp. He's interim CEO. So they can find somebody better than Chapek and maybe right the ship a little bit if he's capable of that.
And that'll be my next question to everybody. Do you think he's capable of it, or do you think the ship's taking on too much water and it's going to sink fast?
Yeah, that's a long road to hoe for sure. In 2 years, I doubt it. No, he's going to have to. If he does anything, he'll have to come in and do what Zaslav did, and just cancel stuff that's woke as crap, and that's not going to make any money. It's just going to put more dents in their chassis and take the hit. They're going to have to take the hit, whether they're willing to do that or not. I don't know.
I think it's a Titanic slow sinking scenario.
Yeah, it could be.
He might be able to slow the sinking, but like I said, we don't know the numbers, and even the numbers they do release, they're probably a little bit cooked or not the accurate. What do we know about Marlboro? Are they in a position where we can say they are making money? I doubt it, since most of their stuff in the last year or two are not great. I can't say the same for Star Wars, because Star Wars' main money making was merchandise, and we see how small that's even shrunk over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So, and then their lifesaver, and we talked about before, was the parks, but their parks have even become detrimental.
They just recently raised the prices again at the parks.
Mm-hmm. And then they tried with they finally admit they're stopping it. The Star Wars Galaxy, not the Galaxy, but the motel thingamajiggy.
Yeah.
That's an epic disaster.
It's funny. They have a double-edged sword here. They're blocked both ways. People would rather go to Florida to vacation and go if they wanted to go to Disney World, but Disney World's too freaking expensive, and Disneyland's probably not as bad, but nobody wants to go to California.
Sorry, Cash.
Well,
Cash,
there's still people
what are
who
your
come
thoughts,
here.
brother?
Well, first of all, I was told by somebody I need to be on here, so here I am. It's like a superhero. Me and Phil show up, but no. Disney in general is a mess. But if Iger, here's what I don't understand. I go back to here. To me, okay, so I think you guys can all agree. If we're running a company, okay, if something isn't profitable, then you just stop doing it. So maybe if Disney was like, here's the stuff that we consider as woke people, we have enough audience of that. Here's the stuff that we consider that's non-woke. And I know I've brought this up before. Then figure out which one is going to make more money, because you're a business. So you should be always about making money. But a lot of the content from Disney that I've seen, I go, look, I'm the guy who, saw Light Year, whatever, and there are queer characters in there. I'm just saying, so don't freak out, YouTube. But
it's representation.
That's right. So that is not a good direction from Pixar. So if Iger can actually start helping the direction again for Marvel, they're still, I think Star Wars is still in a better direction, but there's still obviously some problems there too. But I don't think there's as many problems that I've seen as there is with Marvel. This whole, we're goofy, everything's goofy, like lately. It's really it's bad. And so the writing, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of passion and energy and people who really give much of a crap. And it's more like, you don't like this, we're going to go after you. We're going to target you, which I think is silly. But, yeah, anyways, I just think that if Chapek can come in there, and he obviously didn't do a good job, and he's exiting. So can Iger do a better job? So Disney also is a humongous monopoly, and as you guys know, we need to break up a lot of these companies.
Amen.
There's too much power.
Yeah, too much companies there. And one thing I want to make a comment on, and I see BK Dan said this about the Marvel movie. I am hesitant when it comes to, after a couple weeks, a movie that was doing bad, all of a sudden it's starting to make money. Don't forget, there was a couple movies back, I'm not sure which Marvel movie is, where they were claiming they were selling out the theaters, and people in the actual movie theater are using
Captain Marvel comes to mind.
Yeah, and they were empty. They weren't sold out. What happens is it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes the movie company, to get their movies going,
they'll buy tickets.
Yep, that's not a secret, and it's not just Disney that does it. So, but I find it ironic that in the first couple weeks, Black Panther was not doing anything. Now all of a sudden, they're up to 450 million. I wouldn't suspect that they were buying their theater tickets, and just my opinion. I mean,
something doesn't add up.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
And Chapek, I guarantee you, or Godzillionaire asked, I don't think he was the fall guy. I think the board just got sick of his bull crap. And he was weak. He was beholden to the crazies inside the company. And he is woke as he may be. I guarantee you he was not as woke as the rest of them, but he was trapped. And the board and he probably fed the board lines of crap. Oh, we're going to make money off this. Oh, this is one's going to be the big one, or blah, blah, blah. They probably got sick of his crap and losing money. Their stock prices are dropping like a rock. They can't have that. Their ideology doesn't trump their profitability. And
if I was correct on the stock, I heard big numbers. First, I heard it was 40%. I'm not sure if that's true. I didn't see 40% losses in their stock, but it would not surprise me. It would be maybe 20-25 in the recent quarter. That's huge. Even if we would say 15 or 20% value of their stock, that is huge. But here's the thing: Iger picked this guy. Iger was supposed to, if you remember, he was supposed to take a year or two and help him along. Here we are 2 years later, and he has to step in. I don't think he really was officially walked away, is what I'm saying.
And let's not forget, I know I've already mentioned, but I'm going to mention it again. He's stepping back into his former position 11 months after he left.
Yeah. That it doesn't add right. I mean, when you think of a company, yes, sometimes CEOs do come back. But I really thought, but this thing was, he wanted to throw his hat into politics. If that was an attempt to throw into politics, I don't see him that he can fix this ship and a year or two later go into politics. I don't think he can do it.
No, he had political aspirations, but I don't think it panned out. He's not exactly popular in the political sphere. So this is just, hey, I can get my name. I can get my name out there back, and if I can bring the stock price back up, get people back into the park, then I can go out on top again, and my name won't be mud. It's a boost, and then maybe might try to get back into politics again.
Well, I'll give Disney a little bit of something to go on. We're in a position like Warner Brothers where everything was garbage and they had to jettison. They didn't have no choice. Disney is in a position, if they decide to change a little bit of their ways or do something, they can turn the ship around. But my heart of hearts telling me, even if they turn a little bit of around, something has to go. I mean, financial wise, It's not going to be the
They
part.
need to start trimming the fat. They
There
need
you
to
go.
get rid
I
of
would think
companies that
Marvel
they
or
really
Disney.
don't need to own.
I think Marvel or Disney will have to be. Oh, no, excuse me, not Marvel, Disney. Marvel and Star Wars. Maybe we might see one of them be sold off.
Possible.
I will not be surprised if they. Because I can see them fixing and righting the ship on one. I do not see them fixing and righting the ship on two. And I'm not even talking about the stuff under Disney's umbrella, like The Lion King and all that type of stuff. Or this explains why yesterday you heard the news they canned the Pirates of the Caribbean. That's getting
with Margot
canned.
Robbie.
Yep. So that's done according, and I can see that because that's Iger's baby. That was Iger's baby. So the thing to me, what I think, Marvel or Star Wars, one of the two, they will have to jettison.
Yeah.
And I think between you guys, if I was Disney and it would be easier for a fixed, Marvel is not as divided as the Star Wars part. I think Star Wars might go.
Yeah, it's 50-50 to be sure. Star Wars is a bigger property, though.
Yeah, when they used to have the merchandise isn't there like it used to be.
Yeah, but it won't be as hard to write the Star Wars ship. It won't. I mean, yeah, they'll have to coax people back in, but all they have to do is make a couple movies that aren't woke and that are still part of the lore.
If they really want to do something big, hire Zahn. Bob Iger should hire Zahn. That's what I would do. That just makes absolute sense to me. He can change stuff, do this. I just also, if you're gonna do these for whatever reason, Star Wars movies again, just have like one person. And if the one person doesn't agree with the other vision or whatever vision there is, then probably find somebody else. I just, yeah.
It's not rocket science, right? I mean, by now, every one of them, all they have to do is search YouTube for a day, just spend a day watching videos of people who review their crap. And they'll know pinpoint exactly where they went wrong. Even if they're blinded by their own ideology and why they're not making money, they can figure this out pretty sneaking quick. And all they need to do is go back to the right formula. And they can do that if they can get their heads out of their butt and do what's necessary. It's not hard. And they can save Star Wars pretty fast.
You know whose fault this is, though, Anonymous? It's Master Paul, because he watched Caddyshack 2. And for some reason, Disney found out about it. And they were like, "Hey, Paul, we want to have you on because we love that movie too."
The real thing is
the whole world
Paul is wearing Star Trek when he's on a Star Wars kind of thing.
I happen to be wearing this because these double as pajamas.
So you wait a minute.
It doesn't really matter what he's wearing.
No, it doesn't.
You don't wear that to bed, Paul. You're lying to us.
You're right. I sleep only in my underwear when I'm in bed.
Nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their thing. I thought it'd be silk pajamas, but okay.
All right, Paul. I want to hear your thoughts.
How can this be anything but a bad thing? Because frankly, Disney's finances, aside from those that follow the stock, and I've said this before, aside from those that follow the stock, we, the average fan / consumer, shouldn't even care about that. All that really should matter is, what is Disney giving us? And I mean that in all aspects of their company, from movies to TV shows to the theme park experiences, so on and so forth. Everything that is bad about Disney now started under Bob Iger.
Yep.
And whether Chapek was actually trying to fix it or not, frankly, is irrelevant at this point. Bob Iger is clearly the worst of the two evils, as far as I'm concerned. like I'll put it this way. The best way I can describe it is the house has fallen on the Wicked Witch of the East. Now we got to deal with the Wicked Witch of the West.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. For everybody who might be saying, "Oh yes, Iger is back. Everything's going to be saved."
Right.
I would never say that. I would
No.
I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about someone who's going to look at this and go, "Disney is saved."
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know Bob Iger's history, and the normies are going to be like, "Oh well, I know what's happening with Chapek, so Bob Iger's got to be way better." And they don't know. They're not going to care. They're just going to see this as a lot of people are going to see this as Disney trying to save their butts, but they're doing it all wrong, and especially when they're going to pick Iger to find his successor again.
Mm-hmm. And he failed to do that the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
not to mention, that day comes that in 2 years that he leaves and announces his successor. Coach used this allegory before, how he, of course, he's a school teacher. He had someone that was working as his boss in some form of position that was terrible. They leave and get replaced with someone that ends up being even more terrible. That very well could happen once Bob Iger leaves once and for all. He gets replaced with someone that is twice as woke as Bob Iger is.
Yeah.
Possible. No, I wouldn't say Cobra Disney Jedi is woke at all. I think Cobra Disney Jedi can do the job.
Oh, I think he could too. I think anyone on this panel could do a good job except Phil.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I will say
that's because Phil would purchase Star Trek and make a world and basically make a theme park themed entirely around the pleasure planet of Star Trek V.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well,
everybody like that.
No one wants to see that one Catwoman.
Look at all the disaster that Twitter was. Like, when people go too far in a company, especially a billion-dollar company like Disney, and all the problems and all the hypocrisy that's surrounding them, there has to be some kind of change at some point, because you just can't keep stabbing yourself in the foot every time.
And real quick,
when you got a board
to address what BK Dan just said in the chat, am I saying better the devil you know than the one you don't? Whether you know the devil or not, the devil's still evil.
Yeah. I will say this, and this is just something for thought. If you go by the structure of how things are set up at Disney, I'm not saying they can't reach outside the box, but what is to stop Bob Iger from having the president of Marvel being his successor, or
Kevin Feige,
Kennedy?
Wait, or even worse, would probably give Doomcock a heart attack and pass away. Our favorite KK. These are his people, and I would not put him past. And maybe he says, "I'm going to pick one of these two."
Well, I would say, I would say no to that, but also that the board has way more control over this, what's happening now, than they did before. They have mandates. Like I said, the board is king. Iger's not king. Iger's a substitute, and he has a mandate to do things that they want. They want their money. And if he doesn't do it the way they want him, I know they're probably going to shoot themselves in the foot. This isn't saved, I guarantee you. But they have a plan, albeit foolish. But they're putting their trust in him, and they're probably going to watch him like a hawk, and guide him, puppeteer him a little bit to get what they want, and hopefully it works. But
thing is to remember who put most of them people on the board of directors. remember, there is a big difference, and they're not the same. People who have stock into Disney are not on the board of directors. In some cases, on some companies, yes. George Lucas is not on the board of directors, though
No,
he
they're voted. They're voted on by the actual stock.
But a lot of these people that are still there are Iger and the previous CEO before him, which he ran just like Bob Iger. They were, I mean, you couldn't tell the difference from what they did before Iger was CEO from the previous guy to him, but you do see the difference, the CEO between Iger and Chapek. You know, you do see the difference. How much is there to blame because Iger, quote unquote, was supposed to be teaching and watching over him, like he said in the beginning? We didn't see none of that, but we also didn't see Chapek really show control. You know, more like I'm holding the ship. So I think if Iger has a thing that he wants to pass his legacy, so to speak, he's going to turn to somebody. And for me, I mentioned two. I hope it's not neither one of them two. He's going to. I personally think he's going to turn to one of them two. Either the guy, I forgot the guy's name again.
Kevin
Feige.
And okay. Don't make fun of my speech. I forget.
No, not you. Somebody else who called him that.
No, I'm trying to think of the name of that executive that was given that raise last year. I'm trying to think of her name, but do you think even she could possibly be the next CEO?
Who you're talking about now. I
Susan
hope
Arnold.
God, no.
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna have to go and say that if the board is doing what I think they're trying to do, one of his mandates is they cannot be bat crap crazy woke, or at least have a reputation for being so. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion.
Even if that's true, in a lot of people's eyes, it's too little, too late for that.
Oh, sure.
Fool me once, shame on you.
Like I said, they're going to have to do a lot of butt kissing and show me the money sort of thing. They're going to have to win people back. They're going to have to try their hardest. It's going to be hard, but if they want to do it the way they claim, it's going to take several movies, several TV shows, maybe a break from some of this stuff and let it sit for a while.
There needs to be a break, and I think they need to go back to certain things. I would personally like to even see more lore in Marvel. I don't know if that would happen, but if not, I would just like a lot of. We'll use Disney, of course, when we're talking about Disney, but I would like these people to come out and say, look, we don't care about the source material, but we're going to make sure to give you compelling, actual entertainment that you can enjoy. And I would be fine with that. And I wish more people at Disney would do that instead of this. We're going to go after the fans as much as possible. Look, we know fans can be stupid, but still.
They're your customer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think 2 years is enough to even fix?
No.
Well, I guess they want
No.
I would like to sit in a board meeting and I would like Disney to tell me, are these live action are they profitable? Are these live action movies profitable? That's what I'd like to know.
But I think
definitely no.
2 years might be. He might have a chance if he only had to fix one, but to fix both. Well, three: the Star Wars, the Marvel, and the parks. You might have a chance in 2 years to fix one. I can't see him fixing all three in 2 years.
If he's got to fix one and choose, they're gonna pick the parks, guaranteed, because that's the moneymaker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but he can do a little bit of both, or a little bit in all three, but he can definitely main focus on the parks. But if they were smart, he would spend at least a year, maybe the whole 2 years he's gone, and take a break from all this. No more shows coming out, no more movies coming out from Marvel or Star Wars. And then while maybe secretly make something from each or just one of them that is spectacular, and don't have one every year, but or have 14 in the pipe. Just the one that they can put out there as a shiny little object for everybody who loves this stuff. And if it made $1 billion or more, because it was so freaking fantastic and it was adherent to the lore, it was a fan service to all of us out here, that would be a big help to start the mending process for all the people you ticked off, and then leave it alone for another year or two, maybe 3, and then bringing something else, one more thing out.
Let me ask
don't flood us
this, and don't think I'm crazy, but I'm going to say this. We don't really know the official numbers of Disney Plus, but I think Disney can make more money if they went back and started where they start selling back to like their shows, back to Netflix, maybe Amazon Prime, and just to save money, do away with the Disney Plus. That'll be a moneymaker, and they save money, because I still don't think Disney Plus is a success.
I don't see them getting rid of Disney Plus. They're, you know, Bob Iger in particular was so heavy-handed as far as wanting that platform to succeed. I don't see them getting rid of it anytime soon.
I just would tell people, though, with Disney Plus, that I enjoy watching more of the older content on there than the newer content.
That is a good point.
Yeah, but
Disney
got paid really well when it was on Netflix. Really well for their shows and their old movies. And I think that's a money-making profit for them. Like I said, I don't know how much. I saw in chat someone say like 40% of their stock lost value. If you're going for a quick fix and to save money, I'm not like I said, I wish they could tell us if Disney Plus was really making money. But if I was in their shoes, I would do a quick fix. That's a quick fix. And you're going to make money because a lot of people, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, would love to have some of that contact back. I mean, they weren't smart like Warner Brothers, where you can see Lord of the Rings on 3 different pay channels on their, whatever they call the Netflix stuff.
Streaming service.
So, I can go 3 different channels. Amazon Prime, I'm not sure the other one, and HBO Max, and you could see the Lord of the Rings and the trilogy of The Hobbit. They're making money, that's making money. So,
well, speaking of HBO Max, that's how I saw the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time.
Another thing to consider about all of this, and I know I came into the stream late, so I don't know if you guys talked about this, but
you're never late. You're never late, brother.
Thank you. Bob Iger still wants a political career too.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, he still wants to become president. So imagine how it looks, at least in his mind, that the guy that replaced him, at least according to what the news is saying, has ruined Disney. So along comes him to right the ship, and now all of a sudden he looks good for a presidential campaign in 2024 or something.
Spot, it won't be there, but yeah, that's basically what we were talking about. It's like he wants a little bit more cred for his political aspirations, and this would make him look good a little bit for whatever he's going to run for. He may run for president someday. I don't think it's 2024, but if he can fix a little bit of this and come out on top, then yeah, he'll take that every day for sure.
I think he has a better chance, a more realistic chance, if he started running for maybe governor before president.
Yeah, he needs to have good policies, though, that are actually going to help people. You don't want a bunch of these. I hadn't heard about his aspirations for being president. You can go one or two ways with that one. You're going to have to get a lot of support and donations, especially. But he's got a lot of money, so if he can fund a lot of his own campaign, that's great. But if not, he's going to have to go the Obama route, which when he started first running, he had to get a lot of donations. Now he's wealthy after the White House. So
and Cumber Disney Jedi brings this up too. He says, "I would lower prices at the parks and simplify
and
the
food
annual
prices
pass
as well."
Yes.
What was that drink? The Kyber Crystal drink that was like $5,000.
Why does that exist?
I want to know who's going to spend $5,000. I don't care if that was the nectar of the gods. I want to meet the person that actually paid $5,000 for a shot.
That's the kind of person that quite literally has FU money.
Yeah.
Like, that is the definition of that term.
And that hurts them. Advertising that kind of crap hurts them with the normie people. The average guy who doesn't have a ton of money, who, freaking Disney's become ultra rich playground. I can't afford to go there, selling $5,000 drinks and $6,000 packages to a stupid Star Cruiser that's just plain retarded. Why in the world would I go there? I mean, it looks like a playground for the elite, and a lot of people are going to be turned off by that. They shouldn't be advertising that kind of crap. Hey, look at us, we got $5,000 drinks. Oh well, great. I don't make that all year, so screw you.
Probably the liquor they make it with probably don't even cost some grand total of $100.
No.
Thank you for stopping by, Dan. You have a great night.
Hey, Dan, ain't seen you in a while. Dan was on my very first stream last year. Ain't seen you in a while.
That's amazing. Everybody, this.
I did my 100 sub stream.
If you are Universal and you have your parks and you might have an opening, or say Legoland, I don't know, just throwing out there all different parks. Do you think someone's going to pick up Mr. Chapek to run their parks?
I don't.
Not to mention coming soon, the Nintendo
Universal
World.
Paramount, which is all together. I mean, they've actually made money. Look at how much Top Gun Maverick made. But I think even Rise of Gru made good money. So they've done better, because Disney Marvel films were making about over $1 billion. I think that's dropped a bit worldwide. So I don't think that's a win for Disney.
Well, the reason I say it because before he got CEO, well, let's just say I still believe he was forced in that position when he was running.
Yeah. If you look back to that, I believe it was on CNBC, that interview when they made that sudden announcement, the look on Bob's face, like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Thanks, Iger. Thanks, dude.
Yeah. But he actually, the Disney parks were doing well before he was moved on to CEO. So I
do have a friend that would disagree with that, Phil, that is currently working in the Disney parks. My friend, you might remember him, Tyler, or I forget what he would have gone by. His real name is Tyler Gamble. He used to work with me. He was the Harry Potter guy that knew me pretty well. He actually went and started working with Disney as part of their college program, and said that all of the people that actually work in the parks couldn't stand Bob Chapek because of how cheaply he ran the parks.
Yeah, you hear about it all the time, how there are a lot of aspects of Walt Disney World and Disneyland that are in disrepair.
I can even attest to it when I went back in 2021 last year. Just, again, nothing that I remember that was major, but just certain things that you would expect that Disney would do well, they're not doing, like trash pickup. That was the dirtiest I had ever seen Disney.
I hear, and from what I see, because I do watch a lot of people, not mentioning any names, going to parks. About 5 or 6 of them. I just like to sometimes just to kill a little time. From what I've seen and heard, Universal has passed in their service, in the way they run their parks, better than Disney.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay,
that
now
sucks because I still love going to Disney World,
no.
but I demand better from them than that.
For that kind of money, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would even say, if you notice, from what I can see from people going to the parks, Universal seems to have a better setup and everything. That thing that they have with the Transformers, with Optimus Prime and Megatron popping out different times, interacting with the crowd, taking pictures there and everything. I know Star Wars has it, but it really doesn't have it
Yes.
like Universal does. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's my take on thing. For
When
me,
I went
sorry.
when I went when I went to Disney World back in 2021, of course, we were still basically we were in the middle of COVID round 2. And so they had it where some of their restrictions were lessened, but some were still in place. Like there still was not actually meet and greets. It was more public gatherings where the characters, you do not stand in line to meet the characters. The characters come out into these little pre-stage areas and just sort of mill around with enough distance between them to meet the standards, and you meet them that way. And this was especially evident in Galaxy's Edge, when it used to be that people like the stormtroopers and such would actually walk around through the park with the guests, and they can't do that. They're sequestered to just this one stage.
Yeah, I saw it firsthand when I was at Disney World in February of 2020.
Somebody in our
Where
channel, on our
where
special
the
channel,
stormtroopers would walk
Sorry,
around. You would see Chewbacca walking around, heck, while waiting for Rise of the Resistance to come back up after breaking down. Big surprise. Got to meet Ray.
Nice.
And I gotta say, the Ray I met was cuter than Daisy Ridley. Just saying.
there was a guy, I don't know who posted in our thing, but it had the thing to do with Disney's princesses. And they put new one up there with a girl that's imaged in a wheelchair. Now, I don't have any really problem with them doing something like that, but here's the thing I feel that they failed in. And I'm not sure we should blame Iger or blame JPEG or blame Disney as a whole. If I see a little girl and if she's sickly, the last thing she wants to be reminded of is her sickness. You know, we don't think if you're a little girl and yes, you're limited to a wheelchair, God bless her. Does she really want to go and see something that's going to remind her about being?
No, because I'm going to speak as someone who was born with cerebral palsy.
Yeah. You want
No,
to show them something
I'm
better.
not confined to a wheelchair,
Yeah.
but I don't want to become a freaking checkbox.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think anybody does want.
Or
want
if
that,
somebody
man.
a child has cancer, which is probably the worst thing a child can go through, and they lose their hair and they're suffering. I'm sure they don't want to see an image of that. They want to see something, what they possibly could be or what they used to be. That good. I'm not saying because they're sick they're not good or wholesome. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is the image, that image of a healthy young girl. That's what they want to see. That's what I feel they need to see.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be. I hope I'm not sounding creepy or.
No, you're exactly right. Fantasy is not about what you can be. Mm-hmm. It's about what you can't be, yet still can't help but aspire to.
Yeah. So I thought that was a little beyond, and none of the other parks have that. Just Disney. So I was surprised Disney went there.
I mean, I can speak for myself as someone with cerebral palsy. Growing up, people would say, "Well, what did you need special instruments in order to drive a car?" And I looked at them and go, "No, I don't. I can drive a car just like anyone else."
Hmm.
And I think people, even when they get older, if they they survive their illnesses and stuff, where they have to live through it, they don't want to be reminded of that.
No, nobody does. Nobody does.
No.
Well, hopefully in the future we're going to, because the thing is, we still need to advance medical science more. I remember after one of the streams I have, like we were talking, we need to advance medical science even more. We're advancing technology, but we do need to advance medical science more. So hopefully in the future there'll be more government people and there'll be other people who will support that. And then when we have better cures and so on for people, and we'll become better for it, hopefully.
I would love
That's a big one.
I would like to say that medical science is never going to advance fast enough for most of us because it doesn't pay. I'm sorry. I don't want to be the pessimist here, but I believe in my heart of hearts that the medical community is only after the money. They don't give a crap about you or me or Mike and his problems or whatever. You'll never see a cure to cancer. You'll never see a cure for any big disease. Really get a cure for AIDS. It's more profitable to treat the disease than to cure it. And they may make small strides in technology, but it won't ever be a fix for anything.
Disney, and I hate to say this, and other corporations used to be big on donating, helping causes for people like children with cancer, victims that have been, suffered burns and everything. They are the causes that Disney should be doing. Where's our Jerry Lewis telethons? We don't have that no more. Stuff like that, that's where the corporations used to shine, doing their good deeds. This stuff that they're doing now, I hate to keep bringing up because I'm getting tired of saying it.
They're doing it to give themselves attaboy points.
Yeah, that's
because I can remember this like it happened yesterday. I was coming home from school. I was just dropped off by the bus. This is when I was in kindergarten, but I still remember this like it was yesterday. And my mom's, of course, inside the house, but she's at the door. Well, I'm not going to say who they were. I'll tell you guys off stream, but there are these people who are proclaiming the end of the world is coming. The end of the world is coming. And, they see me and then they come back the next day with somebody in a wheelchair. It's like, really? You have some gall to do that.
Trying to earn brownie points where.
Well, it's also the other thing is, like, we can sit there and blame the medical community. I do feel there are doctors that you get, even though you're paying for them, that do care and ask you questions. I think there's some doctors out there who care.
I'm not throwing down on the individual.
Yeah, but I just, it's also the fact that humans in general need to learn again to take more responsibility for their actions. So if you're not wearing protection and you're doing stuff and you get something, whose fault is that?
Totally. Well,
is it
the fault of
somebody else's fault?
I'm older, but
No,
here's the thing. Where is in this day and age, and we've seen it's rising high again, the mothers against truck drivers. We are getting more drunk drivers again, to where the point before the 80s when everybody was promoting don't drink and drive. We tell people don't smoke because it's unhealthy for you. but we're going to legalize marijuana, which is still smoking. And is that healthy?
And also promote vaping as a cigarette alternative when that's just as dangerous.
Yeah, that is even worse for your lungs.
Like, I don't want to tell. I don't want this.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell somebody how to live their lives. If they want to, smoke a cigarette, vape.
If they want to vape, if they want to smoke weed, I mean, we legalized it in California. I don't think we've seen extra money from that.
But here's the thing. Here's how you really live a good, healthy life. You make sure that you watch The Loss.
Oh my God! Get him off the panel he's in a 5-minute timeout, Mike. I'm calling it right now.
My reason I brought that up real quick is because the business
of all the things I could have said, that's probably the more tame one.
I know. I'm not kicking you out tonight. Tonight's not about that.
Okay.
But Disney in the 80s were behind it. Let's stop the smoking. Look, if you want to smoke, you smoke. My thing is, if you happen to get sick because of it, look, I have family members that smoke cigarettes, chain smoke, 3 or 4 packs a day. God bless them. And I know it's hard. Sometimes addiction in any form is hard, but eventually it's going to take a toll on you.
It's going to kill you. Smoking killed my father. Okay. Smoking helped kill my brother.
Yeah, I always wondered what my professor... Oh, go ahead.
Smoking, I'm sure, played a big part in my grandmother on my dad's side's passing.
I will also say that what they put in cigarettes isn't like you're naturally rolling up a tobacco and smoking it, but putting tar in your cigarette.
Yeah, additives and smoking, even natural smoke or tobacco is not good for you. Obviously, anything you put into your lungs that's not supposed to be there, it's going to be detrimental to your health. But yeah, the cigarette companies added crap that even made it worse. And they didn't have back in the day. My father, he started smoking when he was 4 years old. You know why?
What?
Yes. Because they didn't have any surgeon generals back then. They didn't have any studies on what this actually did to you. So they thought it was fine. It's something nifty to do. And my dad was a hillbilly, They didn't know. They're not the smartest people in the world.
Let's be the history. Not be quick on this. Cigarettes were intended for women. Men were smoking cigars. It didn't get to a point to after World War I. That you actually seen men start buying more cigarettes than cigars, because a cigar was unladylike. You don't want I hate to say suggested, but cigarettes were designed more for women than they were for men. But the reason I bring it up, because in the 80s, Disney used to do commercials. They would tell you at the end of the thing, "Oh, please don't smoke." We used to get the guy who played with Charlton Heston as Moses, the guy who played the Pharaoh. I forget his name. Famous actor, bald head guy.
Yul Brynner?
Yul Brynner. His final message that they were showing over and over again was him saying, "Please don't smoke." They got stuff like that. Disney got behind, and I would say more for the kids, and God bless them, it was a good thing. This is what I'm trying to say. They did do some good back in the day. Where are these messages now?
They're not there. I mean, heck, I think most of us here right now can recall "This is your brain," and there'd be the guy holding the egg in his hand.
Yep.
And then he'd crack the egg, put it in the frying pan, and say, "This is your brain on drugs," as the egg is frying. Any questions?
Yes.
I remember in the Transformers, they had every cartoon, G1, used to have a similar message like G.I. Joe. Knowing is half the battle. Remember that?
And even though those messages were cheesy, I personally think for kids show or even adults who have kids, those were good. I would like to see that stuff come back personally.
But that's...
the messages kids are getting now.
That was the social engineering, but from our day, but it was coming from a place of actual real morality,
Yes.
real
Yes.
health concerns. But today you couldn't do these things because you're shaming people. You're a bigot if you think you somebody who's an ad against smoking pot or something. People need to do whatever they want. You can't do it nowadays because their messed up sense of morality is all about what makes me feel good or what makes you feel good, or be your best self or live your best life, or your
Right.
truth, live your truth.
Right.
And it's so distorted. I mean, we had a very clear compass of where we should be going, and yes, people go off in different tangents, following their own ways and their own understanding, and but we as a whole, as a group, we knew the moral way to go, and we tried to corral these other people back into reality, into common sense, and doing things that are beneficial to them in their lives. But somewhere down the road, that thing broke apart. Yep. And it's like a big old bag of bottle rockets that just went off, and they're going in every different direction, and you can't put it back together.
You remember recently, and it's not too long ago, the WWE had the big thing stopping bullying.
Don't try this at home.
They had that, and they had the big one that was recently.
Be a Star campaign.
Yeah, let's stop bullying. But then they dropped it. And nothing against what's going on today, but what do you see if you don't support a woke cause? They bully you. They call you names. They say you're this, you're that. That's bullying. What happened to that message? That message of stopping bullying was a great message. I loved that the WWE did that.
I'd like to refocus this conversation for a little bit back to Bob Iger. Okay. Because there's yet another factor about how he's going to handle the corporation, specifically with the parks. And that is Disney's relationship with the Florida government currently under its current governor. Because, we had that one misnamed bill, which I won't even say here, but we all know which one it is. The one that really got the people at Disney mad. And Ron DeSantis, if he revoked some form of special privilege that Disney World had.
Yeah, they were their own
the land,
their own state.
Reedy Creek.
Yeah,
a state within a state.
Mm-hmm. So now that Bob Iger's back, how does that change, if at all?
I don't think
I don't know that it does.
It won't change. I mean, that's a governmental thing. It's a done deal. So it would take a act of Congress to get that back for them.
Well, whatever that they call their government down there in Florida, whatever assembly or
whatever.
But I don't think Florida should be honest. No state should give any corporation that kind of power. They should not have been allowed to police themselves. They should not have had the breaks they were given to them, regardless. Let's face it. Even though Disney brings a lot of money with that park down there in Florida, it did not justify the breaks they were getting. So I think on the breaks alone, he was justified. But I do agree with everything he did with that. And he didn't really take anything away. He just took the special privileges. Mm-hmm. That's all. I don't think the one in California, I forgot what are they called? Disneyland. I don't think California gave Disney that kind of power out there.
No, they didn't. They don't have that. Florida,
Hey, Felix.
There was a weird thing in Florida that Florida government gave that to Disney to have them build Disney World there. Mm-hmm. It was a quid pro quo sort of thing. They agreed to it, and That gave Disney the ability to build whatever they wanted with using their own inspectors and whatever, all the permits and stuff they didn't need from Florida government. But now that's all gone. Now they can't build anything on their park without having Florida people come in and check it out and inspect it and all that stuff. And there's probably more to it, obviously, but that's like a big thing.
I mean, I can't think of, in my state for years, the DuPont family and the DuPont Corporation ran this state, but we ain't never gave them that amount of power. And I can't think of another state, West Virginia had the Rockefellers as much as New York, and they had a lot of pull and a lot of power, but I don't think that they even had that kind of power, that what they had down there at Disney World down in Florida, they were practically a state within a state. That was shocking. I don't even think people in Florida probably even knew what type of power they had.
And real quick, Felix, if you want to come on the panel and talk about Bob Iger returning, the link is on the very top, so you're more than welcome to come on, brother.
Yeah, their Twitter's all aglow over this right now. So
yeah, I had already seen some comments before I went live where, again, like we mentioned before, people are acting like he's the savior, and that's Bob Iger.
Well, all the rest of the fellowship is pretty much lighting them on fire. It ain't. Nobody in our sphere believes he's going to be a savior.
No, he's not. He's not.
Yeah.
Personally, I think
you'd be fooling yourself if you thought he was the savior. He's not.
I think the selection of potential, if they want out of the box CEOs, is not there. I mean,
hey, Pacific, highlight what Cobra just said.
I just saw it.
Could that happen?
No. And I'll tell you
I don't
why.
think Disney wants
George
that.
Lucas, as of right now, since the guy from Apple died, George Lucas is
Steve
the
Jobs.
#1 owner of stock in that company, followed by his best friend Spielberg. So you would have to buy their stock to even come close to a majority, and then still buy outstanding stock to pull what a takeover. And with the amount of Disney stock, and let's just be clear, even with George and Spielberg, I don't even think that would even equal out to 30% of the stock that's already owned. So you would have to get at least 51% to take control. You would have to buy a lot of outstanding stock, and I don't think there's enough out there, and buy someone else's stock. And then don't forget the Disney family still have the special written in stock. So, yeah, I think he would have to buy. And that too much money. It would be too much. I don't even think, and even if he teamed up with Bill Gates, he could do it. It's just almost impossible.
Well, you going back to the whole thing about Apple, Steve Jobs just to me was a guy who actually wanted to innovate. Tim Cook is just a businessman, so I don't think Apple personally is going in the best direction under him. He's not willing to bring on, I don't think, more innovators, and Apple does things that I like, but then there's other stuff they do that is like no. But we're not going to see anything like an iPod, it seems, and we just keep upgrading the phones, and the Apple purists and the other people, I guess, are just happy with that. But I wish they got somebody else like Steve Jobs in there trying to find somebody like him so Apple could really start innovating more.
I would say, Paul,
Tim
about
Cook's
the
not going to take
question
his.
about could somebody buy, I think when it comes to Disney, if say like I was saying before, if Iger says, "Well, we can save Star Wars, but we're going to end up saving Marvel," if somebody wants to buy it, they could probably buy that if they decide to jettison. You know, if they decide to jettison Star Wars alone, they could probably buy it. One person.
So then let me ask you this then. If they do jettison Star Wars, who do you think is in the best position to take Star Wars back? Or does George Lucas take Lucasfilm back himself?
Well, he already got when he got his stock. I think now his stock value. Last time when I did the math, he was at 12 million. Billion on the stock alone. So he doubled what he got. But I'm not sure if he kept his stock. You know, George Lucas doesn't reveal if he sells or if he keeps. I think if someone buys Star Wars, if Star Wars went up for sale, Sony would be the one to try to buy it. Hands down, Sony would be the one. As far as individuals, that's hard because you're asking somebody like a Musk to go from what does he really know about running a studio?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But then again, to his credit, people have said the same thing about him running a social media company, and look where we are.
True.
I don't. It's not that what does he know about running a studio? It's
who does he hire to
do that
run
now?
That studio?
Like, yeah, he's already, nads deep into Twitter right now, and he's got Tesla and SpaceX. I don't think he'd be willing to take on such a giant juggernaut of what that would be, unless he planned to sit on it for a while and come back to it later. It's a possibility, but I just don't think he'd be interested in something like that at the moment. He's got a lot on his plate dealing with Twitter, but Lucas, I would not be surprised if he could get it back for a song now, probably.
But he still would have to team with somebody. I don't think he has.
Oh yeah, he would. He wouldn't want to spend all his money on it. I'm sure, but
I mean,
he could get investors.
Disney Jedi said Peter Jackson. He couldn't do it on his own, but maybe if he teamed up with George Lucas and let's say, say Verizon wanted to help him out, that Verizon along with Peter Jackson and George Lucas could buy Star Wars.
What about Comcast?
Or
they own
Comcast, yeah.
Universal.
Yeah.
But this is George we're talking about. He's not going to want to give control over to some corporation that he hates. By the way,
what we also need, guys, is we just need more competition. There's just too many monopolies, too much power for one company to control, and what they want to control
Fox
is
deal
just
should never have gone through. That's too much for Disney. That pushed them into monopoly zone. I still think they need to break them up. Disney needs, in my opinion, needs to be broken up. I mean, I remember in the day when they broke up the Bell Corporation, and I don't know if you guys remember that, but
Bell Corporation?
Yeah, Bell used to be. There was only one telephone company. It was Bell.
Southwestern Bell.
And then they broke them up into 5 or 6 different groups. Yeah, Bell Atlantic, Bell Southwestern. Well, Bell Atlantic became Verizon.
Well, there was Pacific Bell.
Oh, yeah. But yes, at one time, Paul, there was only one telephone company, and it was the Bell Company.
Yep. Southwestern Bell. Well, it was started out as Southwestern Bell. I remember
Southwestern, and in California, it was known as Pacific Bell.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is regional sort of thing, but yeah, Bell Communications, whatever. One of them turned into AT&T. I know.
Yes, one turned into AT&T. My region became Bell Atlantic, which became Verizon.
And I'm sure one of them turned into Sprint too.
Yes. So, that's a good thing because look what came out of it. You should never have one corporation control everything. It was how Bell Atlantic got away for years and years with doing that is beyond me. But it was a lot better once they split them up. And I think Disney, if they were to split them up, I think it would be a good thing. The other companies like Universal and Sony, I wouldn't consider them a monopoly, but here's the thing that happens now. Anytime a thing goes up for sale, a big name always ready to pop and jump on it because Disney owns so much. So to keep in with the running, they have to jump on it.
And to your point, Phil, I mean, Bob Iger, I know we've already mentioned this, but Bob Iger is the reason why Disney is in the mess they're in because of scooping up IPs like Marvel and Star Wars and scooping up 20th Century Fox.
Yeah. Like I said, I love Marvel pre-Disney more than I ended up liking Marvel post-Disney. So
yeah.
Same here. Marvel pre-Disney took itself seriously. Yeah, they were throwing a joke here and there just to add some levity to the situation. Mm-hmm. But Marvel post-Disney, it's joke after joke after joke. I mean, yeah, I know, Paul. I
mostly don't land.
Yeah, and I know I give you a hard time about Easy Mode, but
Thanks.
that's just
it's justified though. But anyways,
that's
continue.
That's just it's just a fun rip,
I know.
I'm eventually gonna stop because I know it gets old.
You should have seen though the meme that Baron posted in our secret group about me. He trashed me worse than you ever did with that.
Well, it could be worse, and I said this before. You could be playing CPU versus CPU, but you're not. So that could be worse.
Hey, Crit.
Hey, Crit.
Hello.
Oh, he lives again. Hello.
I'm on my phone.
And Paul does not play in God mode, so I'll give him that too.
Good. Thank goodness.
I was gonna say,
God mode, Paul. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Right? Okay. Remain silent.
I have played God mode before.
Oh God, no, not on that.
This is what you brought, Phil.
This was like a year ago. So
Phil, look what you did.
Yep. So Crit, what are your thoughts on this breaking story of one Bob replacing the other Bob again?
Well, I think from a business perspective, I think it's the right move. I think people, I'm going to be honest. People, when Marvel was like it was, yes, there were tropes. There was comedy, there was action. But I don't think the Marvel movies really were, as you say, like, I liked the formula because it was entertaining. It never got tiresome with Marvel. Under Iger, that is. You could say, well, yeah, but there was always seriousness when it came to it. And, Avengers Endgame was a satisfying conclusion to the Marvel as a whole. But they keep making it because they want that TV revenue. But, John Campea, who, when it comes, I think he has the most. Now, opinion-wise, I don't think he has the. When it comes to, like what he likes, I don't think he has the best opinions. But when it comes to business, I have been following him, and last week the stocks for Disney dropped hard, and Chapek laid off so many people, even though he didn't need to. It's like, oh well, trouble's happening. your system's not working, you better jump ship and throw people off a bus. That's not the way to do it. And I feel like I also watched Jim Cramer, the stock market guy, and he predicted a week ago that Bob Chapek was going to get let go after that stock dive. And I feel Campia's analysis. Campia said this: Iger always looked ahead. He was organized. He would always he didn't look to now. He looked to the future. You know, with Disney, they look to now. You see that whole Florida bill thing, and we got to put all this stuff in our movies. We got to get those guys kissing each other. And it's forced. Clearly forced. If Iger was in that role, I'm sure Iger would say, all right, well.
Sorry, wrong picture.
If Iger was in that role, Iger would say this: we will implement steps to do that. We will look to the future over the years to do that, not just jump on the ship whenever. And I feel like, with Star Wars, Iger looked to the future. He didn't look towards the Disney Plus. Well, The Mandalorian, he looked towards that. But with the sequel trilogy, he at least looked towards that from a business perspective. To his credit, that did not work because, if you read the book, if you read Iger's book, what was it? J.J. Abrams asked for another year. He asked for 3 years, not 2 years to work on the sequels, but he said no, that did not work. But I feel like Chapek leaving is probably the best business sense for Disney because they need to look forward and not just skewer when troubles are brewing. Because Disney is faltering, and it's kind of begun since Disney since we got that I would say as soon as Chapek took the reins, I was like tired of this stuff, and the current stuff we got was when Chapek first came in, so he approved all of it. And
I will disagree with one thing. Iger was not he had some big failures, really big failures.
Oh no, I think every boss will have a failure.
But he, especially when he did approved and went after the IP for John Carter, and the amount of money spent and as big, huge as that took, let's be honest, his real success was Pirates of the Caribbean, which he had no intention of it being a big success. That was never intended to be first of all, it was only intended to be one movie, and the purpose of that movie was to promote the ride that they had at the time. It just happened to blow up.
I disagree with Mags. Iger left when he made sure he had fulfilled all his projects. He had fulfilled Endgame. He saw the end of that. He saw the end to the sequel trilogy, blah, blah, blah. When he had no baggage, Iger left. I don't agree that...
You see, I don't agree with that, Crit. If you remember that CNBC interview that the two Bobs were on, they announced it abruptly that Bob Iger was stepping away as CEO and Bob Chapek was taking over. And you saw the look on Bob Chapek's face like, we're doing this now.
Yeah. Iger handpicked.
Yeah, but Iger was planning on leaving. I think Iger was planning to leave. He extended his contract. I'm trying to remember. He did it.
Supposed to find
he originally said that
his successor.
He was going to stay and advise Chapek. That was what he said. He was going to advise and help him along. but then he was going to step away from it. And
now, from a business perspective, Iger buying Star Wars, even as we hate it, was a good profit. It was, look how much the sequel trilogy has generated, because they only paid $4 billion for Star Wars. When
$4 billion in cash, $6 billion in stock. That was the deal.
And I think Disney has tripled basically what they paid for it. And that was a genius business move. You can't, even if you don't like Disney owning Star Wars from a business standpoint, as soon as Iger heard George Lucas was selling, that was the best. That was just genius. You can't admit it because they already. Yeah.
but I do agree with what Max is saying here after he brought in the woke, that Iger never truly left. He was the puppet master behind the scenes.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I don't. He might not have been using the title of CEO, but he was Palpatine behind it. He was Palpatine. Like I said, I don't see how he's going to fix everything. The three major things: Star Wars, Marvel, and the parks within 2 years.
I wouldn't say
that's
there's no way to fix
anybody could reasonably do in the course of 2 years.
Well, there's no way really to fix the IPs they have. The best thing they could do is take steps and look towards the future. I would say in a year or two, and again, like the stock dropping, I think, is why Paycheck, as I heard in the chat, Paycheck has to take his leave because there's no getting around that. You're a failure if you're doing those decisions like that. So, no.
He should never have been put in that position. I think he really wanted to stay as just the head of the parks. I don't think he really was given a choice. Because, I mean, like Mike said, if you look at the very first interview when they did both Bobs, he was there looking like he was petrified. He looked like the guy off the Muppets, the Beaker. If you remember Beaker, that's what he looked like. He was looking like, wow, I'm really here, and they're really doing this to me.
You're going to do it right here, right now. We're not going to have a formal press conference announcing the switch from one Bob to another.
So, but I mean, I agree with some of what Chris said. I mean, it makes sense, but 2 years is not enough for him to turn things around. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
I mean, even if, like I said, even if he focused on one,
well, this is kind of where we get the big question mark because we don't know. I'm saying from a business perspective, him, like the woke stuff, that can be debated, but I'm talking from a business standpoint. He can take the steps to, again, there was this Campea video that he talked about it, and it was kind of intriguing. But again, I would look at David Zaslav as a good example of David Zaslav.
David Zaslav actually owns Warner Brothers. Bob Chapek and Bob Iger have to answer to a board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
It's the board that made the decision that Chapek is stepping down and Bob Iger is stepping back in.
I'm trying to I'm trying to remember what Chapek's role was. He was trying to be no, that's not. I'll have to think about it again. I forgot, but it was something about what Zaslav has been doing is he's actually talking to consultants, and it's becoming a big thing where he's taking advice from consultants. He's seeing what's best left and right. That's leadership. What I think what I've heard is Chapek, on the other hand, compared to Zaslav, he lets the consultants just do whatever they want, and thinks it. And if there's sign of trouble, he takes a bus ride down to Tijuana. So they.
Well, again, I will say Chapek really was never given full CEO because Iger was still technically there behind him. And he was never experienced to run a studio. Running a studio is a lot different than what he was doing running a park.
He wasn't just running one park, though, Phil. He was running Disneyland. He was running Disneyland Paris.
That's what happens when you run a studio for business execs instead of creatives.
Well, you're always going to have the big man in charge, you know. I mean, like I said, they got Iger. They went for a safe bet. Like I said, I doubt he was ever gone to begin with. And now your stock's lost 40%. Okay, that's a big hit.
Iger wasn't. Iger coming back. No, there was other people in line to take the job. I think months ago, I saw a report where Bob Chapek actually fired a person that was in the news that could replace him in the future.
Yeah.
So he was trying to prevent people from getting his job.
Well, yeah, there was some weirdness about that. That dude was, that dude was woke as crap, and he would have been. Maybe Chapek saw him as not just a threat to his job, but maybe even a bigger threat to the actual company.
But
I don't know.
Did Chapek have the authority to fire him, or was the board behind that decision to fire him?
No, that was that's Chapek. Chapek fired that man. It wasn't the board. It was in the news
actually
that
Bob Chapek that actually fired that individual.
The board was thinking of trying to get. They were trying to get Iger back, but they also had this other guy that was said, oh, this guy might get the job, and then like the very next week, that guy got let go by Chapek. Kind of scummy.
Nothing could have stopped the board if they decided to. If they wanted to get Chapek to say, okay, we are going to go with this guy, the board could do that. You know, the board didn't have to go back with Iger. But like I said, I feel that Iger was never left. Iger was still there in the wings.
Don't worry about it, Max. I did the same thing.
But regardless, like I said, they can get the best CEO of all time. 2 years is not enough. 2 years is I don't see them fixing this mess. I don't think it's something that can be done quick.
Well, I'm not talking about the creative stuff, the woke stuff. I'm talking about business-wise.
I'm talking business-wise because
talking about the stock. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking
Disney
about.
will never die. I think Disney will never die.
They are in the position that Warner Brothers was in. They are not as bad as Warner Brothers, but they are currently getting that way.
No, I don't think so, Phil.
40% of your stock crashes, and you're saying they're not in a bad position? No, they're not.
Warner Brothers got sold off 2 times. Disney bought 2 companies, not in the same way.
They're paying the price for that. Like I said, we went over this months ago. We went down the movies, how much movies were making, how much the TV shows were supposedly making. They were losing money.
Disney doesn't just make revenue from movies. They make revenue from merchandise and marketing.
Star Wars, is that merchandise is at the same place as it was in 2010? No, they're not.
No, if you go into any store, and I can even say this because I was in a store recently, the toy aisles with Star Wars isn't what it used to be. Isn't
Okay,
what
if
it
you walk,
used to
if
Not
be
you
at
walk
even
all.
down the,
close.
okay, if you walk down the street and you see a guy with a Star Wars shirt, what does that tell you? Or a little girl with pajamas, Mickey Mouse pajamas.
If I go into a Star
Like,
Wars store,
is toys the only entity?
where's your Cassian Andor action figure? Where's your Cassian Andor video game? They don't exist. There's no Boba Fett
Galaxy of
game.
Heroes
There's no
exists,
Boba Fett
and it generates millions of dollars of revenue.
That's part of the revenue. That's
when
what
you
they Star Wars before they sold it to Disney. That's where the value was. It wasn't really the movies. It was the value of Star Wars was the merchandise. The
and if you
video
do
game.
see merchandise being worn by anybody, carried by anybody, it's usually the original trilogy.
I have a Force Awakens shirt I still wear.
I have.
I don't believe for a second. Now, toys, sequel trilogy toys, that can be debated, but like people still buy Star Wars merchandise. It's a commodity. People even scourge for Star Wars merchandise.
2010.
But I'm talking about living, not just toys.
Well, I'm talking merchandise. I'm talking that's part of the money of Star Wars, and that has fallen since 2010. Like Mike was saying, you can go on YouTube. People show it. The stores used to have, let's say, Toys R Us used to have 2 big aisles, and the front of the store filled with nothing but Star Wars merchandise. So. And now you go into a wall. Yeah, I think that's crit. But
Walmart, man.
You go into Walmart, they don't even have a quarter of an aisle of Star Wars merchandise. Go in there at Christmas, they still won't even have a quarter of an aisle. What was the last time we had a Star Wars video game? The Legos? That was it? How long ago was that?
No. It would have to be Jedi Fallen Order.
Didn't Legos came out after?
I think Lego
no, not Jedi Fallen Order. Rogue Squadron or whatever that game's called. That's a janky mess. Anyway,
we've it's a pretty good game, but yeah,
the controls are.
I know what game you're talking about.
They are, yeah. We had 3 current Star Wars games. I guess the last one had to be the Lego one. Before that was Fallen Order, and then around there was Squadron.
Yeah, actually, Cash, the Lucasfilm already addressed that video game. They made that new company, the distributor, Lucasfilm Games, so they can give other companies chances to make games other than EA.
I remember.
Yeah. Because EA was trying to seep money just for Star Wars, just for money. But
are we surprised? It's EA after all. They're a company that's been known for selling games and then saying, "Oh, by the way, if you want this while you're playing the game, you're gonna have to give us more money."
Yep.
Wait a minute. I just spent 50, 60, 70, $80 on this game, and now you're asking for more for in-game content?
It's nice that we, find there's a new Fallen Order coming out. That was going to happen anyways, but it would be really nice, and I've said this in the past, that we get some kind of really a better space game than Squadrons, where we can even walk around the ship with our character, with our pilot, or whatever, but we still do not get that. I mean, Battlefront 2 is a pretty good game, but I will never say it's better than the original Battlefront 2. It's pretty good. It graphically, it's even better, but it got better because they got rid of the microtransactions, which was a stupid idea anyways. But
I would say, I don't want to say this, but I would say I kind of like the heroes aspect better in the new game than
easily.
than
It's
the
good.
original.
I will say it's good. From what I've played, it is good.
Now, will I say Jedi Academy is better than Heroes versus Villains? No, because the gameplay in Jedi Academy is, how you say, ageless.
The lightsaber duels and stuff in Jedi Academy is a lot of fun. The turning, the flipping,
And as far as Star Wars games are concerned, since I didn't play Knights of the Old Republic until last year, the best Star Wars game to me was Revenge of the Sith when that came out for the original Xbox and PlayStation 2. And
it was pretty good, but there was some terrible voice acting in that. I remember Samuel Jackson. Is this a joke? Do you remember that, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
that game was a pain in the ass.
There was some really repetitive parts there. I remember when you had to shoot the turrets. I still remember that quite well, where you're trying to blow up the turrets and you're Anakin or whatever. Yeah.
Were the voices crit as bad as Jar Jar Binks from Godzilla Terror of the Deep?
What? No, they were they were the 2D Clone Wars game show voices.
Ah.
I know we talked about merchandise with Star Wars, but you know what? During this time, the Disney stores, they had a lot of them closed down. That's a lot of money lost, not just in the ability of selling merchandise. And I know a lot of it is in malls, and sometimes, it's hit or miss there. But to close the amount of Disney stores that they did in the last 2-3 years, that's not a good sign for promoting your merchandise.
Nope. And gentlemen, I'm surprised he's even here. I mean, I'm sure he's feeling real good right now.
Oh boy!
Don't drive to White Castle.
Oh,
dude,
you walk.
I don't think White Castle's open at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Castle, dude, go to bed, which is actually what I'm about to do.
Stupid Bob's keeping us up till midnight.
Well, what would you have me do? What would you have me do? Wait till Tuesday to talk about this? Wait till tomorrow to talk about this? I saw it, and then I'm thinking, do I wait? No.
I don't blame you. Something
this
like
needs to be talked about.
I gotta go. I'll be. I won't be on my computer as you know. Again, Dead's power supply. Cash saw me just get Thanos snapped last night. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I'll talk y'all later.
If I don't see you, happy Thanksgiving. Just in case.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving. If there's any streams, I should be able to join on my little phone. But like any gaming, I probably won't be able to join. So, all right, I'll talk to y'all later.
Not great.
Later, man.
And I think I'm going to use this break in the conversation to also bow out for the night. So,
I think now's a good time to end this stream too.
All right, then I'll stick around for the end.
We all can go to bed.
Yeah.
Paul, take off your Star
got
Trek shirt.
Paul's got to hug his Godzuki animal very tightly before he goes to sleep. You get one yet, Paul?
Crit's moved on to Tally, so now I'm taking over the Godzuki.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I see.
So, any final thoughts on this topic, guys?
I would say one thing. I wonder what's now going to happen to Doctor Who, since Disney was going to reboot the franchise now that Chapek is going to be there.
I don't see that deal being dissolved. I think that
I thought Sony bought that.
No. Disney is bought.
Disney is
promote it to resurrect it. It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I heard that, but I could have swore like Sony bought Bad Wolf.
Well, Disney. No, don't get me wrong. Disney doesn't own it. They're just in agreement to reboot the series. That's all.
They're in agreement to help give the BBC some money to produce the show, also stream it on Disney Plus. But the BBC still has the final say as to what actually happens in the script.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they're not going to do anything. I mean, they're just facilitators. BBC is going to be BBC. It's going to be as woke. Or actually, it's going to be way worse than what it was.
BBC is going to get better, I think, after whatever.
That's funny.
Isn't there some contract that's going to be up soon with BBC, right?
They have that TV thing where over in Britain
they're
or
licensed.
the UK, they have to pay for the licensing. Unfortunately,
No,
but my thing is
they're losing a lot of.
Here's my thing: if they're trying to say let's have Chapek or Iger, sorry, I get used to saying his name again. It's going to try to fix everything. Do they have time to also try to fix Doctor Who, which is not really their IP? Would you say?
All went trans.
That's all up to the BBC and.
Because, I mean, BBC has had quality shows like Luther. If you guys ever watch Luther, I highly recommend it. Especially if you like that detective drama or a detective drama.
But again, it's up to BBC and Russell T Davies. Do they actually want to right the ship?
No.
I don't think they do.
I don't. I don't think when it comes to Doctor Who, I think that they're too far gone on that. And even if they do a change, I think they damage the fan base that they couldn't even get 25% of them to come back. Even if they brought back all these collection of the great doctors. And that last season was awful.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Definitely. These can be fixed. All this stuff can be fixed. That making more money, which is what they should always be focusing on. But if the Doctor Who fans are not, I would be surprised if a lot of them like this new direction. I don't think so, especially with Whittaker and stuff. And she just was different. And I got in an argument with some random guy online before about this, and I said the fact that she was so indecisive as a doctor and she doesn't make the final decision, like asking everybody else, was just like made me scratch my head so many times.
They retcon the creation of the doctors. They retcon on that last season. But I told you, Cash, don't talk to strangers on the internet, because the person you were probably talking to is that hard creature that has that whatever underneath Mike right there. That's probably what you were talking to. Look at the horror.
I was waiting to see how long you guys would take to acknowledge it.
I saw it.
I noticed it. I noticed it. I just was keeping my mouth shut.
Passed out from the horror.
Oh yeah, he went full clown trans, and I couldn't take it.
Yeah,
he put you in a trance, huh? You saw the clown. You're going.
I think Paul might.
I hate clowns.
I think Paul might be in one of Duran Duran's video and stuff where he's going to wear makeup and put on a wig and go outside.
I mean, they weren't the only ones that wore makeup back in the 80s. You look at any of the
that is for sure
bands back in the 80s, they all wore makeup.
No, but this was just seen in one of their videos of Duran Duran. But
that's Twisted
I'll show it to you
area right there.
If you haven't seen it before, Mike, it's something.
Yeah, in the 80s, the girls.
I probably have. I've just probably blocked it out of my mind.
The 80s, the girls used to tease their hair. The more they teased it, the higher it went, and it was all held together by hairspray. So if you ever were a smoker as a teenager and you had a lighter, you had to be careful. Yeah. And don't forget that super bleach blonde, almost Ric Flair platinum hair that they were going.
80s were so awesome.
That was the 80s. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We survived.
We thrived, man. Freaking
80s was
rock.
80s. You didn't have to wear a helmet while riding your bike. You could ride in the back of a truck, no problem.
Well, you should always wear a helmet. Let's be honest. What if
Shut up?
What do you say? Your head's fragile?
No. Yeah, probably is. Everyone's head is fragile. I'm not against wearing a helmet, but I understand.
No, I'm not against wearing a helmet either.
There's times I've not worn a helmet when I was growing up and on a bike. So
Or
Did you get a Cabbage Patch Kid as a child? Cash money.
Cabbage Patch Kids. Remember when that was crazy?
I remember seeing people fight in KB toy store
was
trying to get a Cabbage Patch Kid.
This is what people also don't understand, and maybe we'll want to do like a series of this on different streams, is why having stores and this certain merchandise is why it's so important to preserve it.
Cash.
Yep.
There have been 2 streams on this channel called
I know, but I'm
streams.
saying we can go deeper into it.
You want to make it part of a future collector stream? We can do that. You know how I can be flexible when it comes to certain content.
All right.
He said flexible.
Well, I'm not saying I'm flexible, Phil.
Since we're talking about this, it's like, go into the fact that, bookstores don't exist. Like, there's comic book stores. There's even one close to where I am that
I don't have any near me, brother.
Amazon is nice and so on. It can be. I get it. I've had a lot of good success, but just going in and talking to somebody that's like-minded about comics, about games. I mean, people, a lot of the newer generation, they don't even understand that how cool these bookstores used to be. Getting magazines every week. Like, this was awesome. People were just like, we want to give you a lot of cool stuff. So here's a lot of cool stuff. Demos in the PC Gamer, PC Gaming. I don't think that was the exact name of it. Magazine where you would actually get full free games sometimes. It was crazy.
Yeah.
All because you ordered the magazine and did the year subscription and whatever.
Or even if you didn't order the magazine, you can go into a store and go to the magazine rack and pick it up, and there you go.
Or just take it out of the magazine, put the magazine down, and walk out.
Even talking about stuff like where games were complete, like when you spent $60 on like a Game Boy game. Yeah, I know we're going way back. You got $60 out of that.
Heck, Game Boy games weren't even that expensive.
No, they were actually $60, dude. I remember.
No, I remember getting some games that were $40 at the time. That was cheaper than any NES games.
Maybe I remember some Sega games being almost $80.
Yeah,
I do remember.
They might have been like the Sega CD stuff.
I think it depended on the games, but the average back in, I would say, when Sega and all at that time, the average was about $50.
You're right, and now they're telling us that it's 70. Yes, it's 70, and you're paying. I'm like, you're not getting $70 worth of content from the new consoles. No way for these games. There's no way. Maybe the new God of War. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't played.
They came out with an MMO a couple years ago called Monster Hunter. And it started out $80 on Steam and a couple other places that were selling it.
That was the deluxe edition, wasn't it?
Right. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even the cheap one was $60.
Right.
People were buying into it, but after a month after the release, nobody was doing it. Nobody was buying it. Nobody was playing it.
And real quick, just last final thoughts on Bob Iger becoming CEO once again, Paul.
I said it in the beginning of the stream. I say it now. Crit does make good points. And maybe if you're looking at this purely numbers-wise, maybe it is a good move. But frankly, as I said before, we, the average movie-going, TV-watching consumer, and I know that word has a negative connotation to it these days, but whatever. We should not care. We shouldn't be in the position where we care about their business. We should only care about what they're giving us and the quality of it. And everything that we're having with Disney, as far as problems with quality, problems with wokeness, started with Bob Iger. So in my mind, how can this be anything but a bad thing?
Good point. Cash.
I mean, it's probably Chapek has probably done more damage, but Disney just in general has a lot of problems. You could get Mr. Magoo in there, and there would still be a lot of issues. We'll just see if they're gonna fix some of their problems, because they should always be about making money, but they just have too much power and they're so hypocritical. Disney is, especially lately. So we'll just see what happens. But it may be the better of two evils. It may not, but it may be a little bit better. Like a Band-Aid, but it may not. So I just would like to see Disney going in a better direction. I would like to see more content from them that say, "Oh wow, okay, Disney, you're starting to get it again." But we'll see. But obviously they were upset. So the board was upset. So there had to be a change. Very, very upset.
Mm-hmm. And Anonymous.
Yes. I believe this is my prediction. The stock will bump slightly tomorrow or the next day, and eventually level out or go back down. But the news that Chapek's gone might jump the stock a little bit. I believe that the board is more in control than they have been, and they're going to try to right the ship a little bit. Whether they're successful, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how tight the reins on Iger is going to be. I know that they probably got him back because he knows the company. He knows how it all works. It's better than having somebody fresh that doesn't know. Because believe me, if you're going into a new corporation, a new job, there's a there's a learning curve for even the minute stuff. But being a CEO of something like that, they didn't have the time or the patience to be training a new guy to run that ship. So Iger was the convenient choice, in my opinion. But hopefully the board has more control over the CEO this time and start doing smart things. And if they can consistently do smart things, stocks will continue to rise. I don't know what that is. I mean, you can't predict the future that well, and you can't see what their thinking is. But it's not going to be saved. Obviously, I know. I'm giving them too much credit. I'm not trying to fill you full of,
I know you're not.
But
I know you're not trying to blow smoke up anyone's bum.
But I'm looking at the board. In any corporation, the board wants money. The CEO doesn't care. He's getting paid regardless. And he'll have that golden parachute when he goes. But the board has to look out for their investors, and they can only take so much of crap. Even if they are still on the ideological spectrum as the CEO and half the freaking staff, they can only live in that fantasy for so long, and they're going to get a lot of pushback, or they have been getting a lot of pushback. They have to make money. That's the deal, or they have no job. They have their wealth goes down the toilet, and as much as they like power, they like their money. So eventually, that has to take place. That has to take precedent. And maybe we're seeing that from that right now. Maybe we're seeing the start of that.
Maybe. And please welcome to the panel Tim Possible, also known as Tim's Talk. Tim, we're just about to wrap up, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
What's
Hey,
up,
Tim.
everyone?
Hey,
Hey,
Tim.
Cash Money in the house. Hey, what's up, Paul? Always a pleasure,
much.
dude. Thanks for wishing me happy birthday, bro. I love you 3000 always, dude. You're a good dude. Yeah. I'm just here. Nothing special. So, showing support. So,
Well, I appreciate it. I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on Bob Chapek stepping down and Bob Iger stepping back in as CEO of Disney?
well, bro, I think it's like a lot of it are. I don't know, man. I don't want to give negative thoughts about it. You know what I mean?
I'm
Because
not gonna judge you. Everybody's free to state their opinion, and
it's because I don't know what the state of Star Wars was prior to them, but I think it's a good corrective movement. I do because the person they did list dates. 2020 was far better towards now, dude. Anything before 2020 freaking sucked. We all know that. So at least I don't know. The passage of power I think they're somewhat listening, Star Wars is, but they're not. I think Paul knows what I'm talking about. But they're listening, but they're not. They aren't listening. Like, okay, let's move it to some guy that doesn't understand Star Wars. He does, dude. This is a lose-lose situation. I'm not going to try to be overly negative about this situation. Like, dude, this is not a good situation. It's not. Kathleen Kennedy is not the worst situation in her life, but like, oh my gosh, how do I explain this? It's just Star Wars is never going to get better. That's it. Period blank. That's it. Because like everyone thinks that just like, well, Kathleen Kennedy is going to be, just because she's going to be gone is going to fix the situation. I know people like Cash Money and my boy in there like dressing under, like, look at him. He knows. We get sick and tired of listening to these bigger channels like gatekeep and tell us this shit sucks. Andor doesn't suck.
Like, it doesn't. I agree. It does not suck.
But at the same time, it's not something that at least I feel like I need to watch, which is why I haven't since episode 7.
Yeah, but all right. So therefore, look, we've been conditioned in such a way, we have gatekeepers in the community that we donate to their channels, and they're like, okay, well, we can't like this content because we support it. You know what I mean? Like, they're telling us that we can't like this content because they don't like this content. And then also, they're just like, well, if you don't like this content, it's like, it's not Star Wars. It's not Star Wars enough. There's not enough blasters stuff in it. You know what I mean, Cash Money? There's not enough blasters stuff in it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, it can still be Star Wars content in it. Right? Like, why does every Star Wars content have to be the same?
Because, and to quote a certain professional wrestler who just won the AEW World Championship, nostalgia is a drug.
It is.
And that's what ultimately people seem to want these days, or think they want these days out of Star Wars, is nostalgia. Even I myself have been guilty of this.
Paul, though, like, I like wrestling like you do, though.
Mm-hmm.
But like the thing is, within wrestling, there's always a heel.
Right.
There's always a heel, and there's always a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
yes.
within Star Wars, that replicates that oftentimes. But my point and argument in that is, it's just like, why does it have to be generic? Like what I'm saying is just like,
why can't they approach it with a different perspective?
Yeah, but why? All right, let me bring it up. This is my argument. Okay. So, all right, we hate fucking Andor. Not Andor. We hate
Obi-Wan.
I don't hate it, but it didn't do anything really much for me, Tim. I can't stand Book of Boobaloo, but
yeah. All right. So, cash money's on my side. All right. Let me preface it. My argument. So, the Book of Boba Fett is trash. Book of Boba Fett is trash. Obi-Wan never existed because it ruins Darth Vader and it ruins Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. It does. They made Darth Vader so pathetic, the fact that he couldn't even compete with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we all know that. It was absolutely pathetic. Like, I can't believe what we watched. Do you agree with that, Paul?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, fucking Darth Vader was pathetic. After left, like, dude, he could not even compete with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anakin Skywalker could not compete with Obi-Wan Kenobi after that.
And I said this.
Oh, yeah, you did. You go ahead, man. Sorry. Right.
What I was going to say is Obi-Wan Kenobi, go back several months ago, that was the show that made me realize truly how hollow and soulless and just a cash grab attempt Disney Star Wars as a whole was. And we don't speak of it. We don't speak of any sort of name changes that happened to my channel. But in all seriousness, the reason that I'm still a Star Wars fan is because I realized that I don't need anything that Disney has given me. And the way that I look at it now, I've said this multiple times, the way I look at it now is only the original 6 movies made by George Lucas truly matter. Everything else, whether it comes out as whether it came out of Disney or whether it came out before Disney as part of the EU, I now look at it on equal terms as speculation. High budget speculation sometimes, for sure, but speculation as to what could have happened in that set time period.
See, yeah. Paul, you look at it with Star Wars the way I look at it with Star Trek. Yes, I'm a Star Wars fan myself, but my first love has always been Star Trek. And I could look back and watch episodes of Next Generation. Yeah, there are some stinkers in there. Imaginary Friend comes to mind.
Yeah.
I can watch episodes of Deep Space Nine, and again, there are some stinkers. Move along home. And the same goes for, Voyager and Enterprise, even the original series.
Yeah. I mean, God forbid we remember And the Children Shall Lead.
I'm sorry, guys, for bringing on toxic stuff.
No, man,
you're fine, dude. Don't worry about
it. You're cool here, brother. Sometimes
you ain't said nothing we ain't already said.
Sometimes on the channel, it's like we're just sitting around the table and we're reminiscing, going, "You remember when?" You could
ranting out with Paul. And I know Paul's pissed off about stuff, and I'm pissed off about Star Wars.
I'm not pissed off anymore over it.
Paul's mad about stuff. I'm mad about stuff. He is.
Mm-hmm.
They're not what Paul's raging out about is what I'm raging about. Paul.
I'm going to say something totally different that hasn't been said before we go, and that is
You mean that you actually like Yngwie Malmsteen?
no.
Paul
That's
is
never
great,
going to
though.
happen. Not on this planet, not on this world, and not on any alternate timeline. Never. But
Paul, you're
here's the thing: I don't think there was ever really an official change. I think Mr. Chapek was just the front man. Iger was behind the scenes. But here's the thing to note: for years, last 5, everybody was saying something about Miss KK eventually leaving. I personally never think that she was ever, or were they going to ask her to? But I can guarantee you one thing: since Iger is officially back, like I said, I don't think he was ever gone. That's definitely not going to happen within the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not going to happen. I don't know how long her contract is, but if there was people still thinking she's going to go,
Doomcock,
not happening.
Who said that?
I bit into that when that first came out. I'll admit, I took that bait, hook, line, and sinker when it was first being reported, thinking, yeah, she's going to be gone. She's going to be gone.
Doomcock.
And then you realize, no, she's not going anywhere. She's going nowhere, to quote Macho Man Randy Savage and Spider-Man.
And I just want to say this, and I know it was a horror for me to mention it earlier, that I said there was 2 possible people, maybe if they're staying in-house, that he could groom to take his spot. That was what was the name of the guy from Marvel?
Kevin Feige.
Him or KK. And let me tell you something. He is very still tight to Spielberg. Spielberg still sings her praises. And I hate to say this, even George Lucas still sings her praises.
Yeah, but if Steven Spielberg sung her praises, he would have agreed to direct Indiana Jones 5. He dropped out of Indiana Jones 5.
He ain't going to tie his something to that. After the last Indiana Jones, I think he was done, like George Lucas intended it to be done. So, but that you have to remember,
actually,
they're still around though. Lucas,
the Last Crusade.
Oh yeah, they're still around the thing.
Spielberg and I think Lucas are still,
they
they're
might
still asking them for advice and stuff. They're still part of that.
I mean, as far as like they were, if you go by what they said when they did Indiana Jones and the Crystal whatever, that was
but there's
the
no audience for that. Like the fact of what Cash Money was bringing up, just like, dude, the audience has passed from that.
But I would just throw this out there: 2 years from now, the possibility, and I can guarantee you, there's a good chance of it happening. KK being president or quote CEO of Disney. Imagine the horror.
Here's something that nobody's thinking about though. What if it's not in the next 2 years? What if it's in the next year? We don't know.
I think Chapek will give us 2 years. I mean, Iger will give us 2 years.
The thing is, though, Kathleen Kennedy could sit in a room and spin around, and Disney right now would still be having problems. Like, she could be like, oh, guys, I'm going to back off as much as possible. Disney would still be having a lot of issues. So. Yeah, it's not just one person.
I don't think listen, I don't think the board would ever approve of either one of these 2 yahoos being the CEO. Even if Iger came to him, it's like, I'm gonna train Kennedy to be the next CEO, in 6 months from now. He goes to them and they're gonna be like, we've seen their body of work. There's no freaking way you're gonna go pick somebody else.
The thing we're missing here is money. They're losing money. That's why they're repositioning.
Yeah, that's why they would never go, because they've lost them money.
Like the other Bob is going to be in charge because he did far more well statistically on numbers. That's the reason. So moving forward, you can have the woke propaganda stuff they've had, but if they do numbers, it makes sense to do it. So therefore, moving forward, They're going to be more safe. They are, and we all know it.
No, but no, I don't think. See, you can't divorce the propaganda with the numbers because you get the numbers because of the propaganda.
I'm not saying they're going to divorce it, but it's all a business, right? It's all a business.
Yeah, but they have to realize why they're losing money.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it. So they have to make that shift away from that, or at least tone it down a bit.
And that's why they made the change, bro. That's why they made the change because that's why they made the change. Why did they make the change? Because they were losing money.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, but Iger
they can't keep doing it.
He lost Disney some money too. He has lost Disney some big money.
I know you guys don't like the current Disney, but they made the change because of money reasons. And that's why exactly.
That's what Crit was saying earlier.
Yeah, we were saying that earlier. Here's the thing.
Iger went back to the original marketing material because at least someone that it's familiar to Force Awakens for him. Dude, what they were doing right now was not making money.
Iger lost the money too. He just know that he lost the money too.
Real quick,
John
Tim.
Carter lost the money. He tried to buy the IP, and when he bought the IP and that movie bombed, that lost the money. When they came out with Tron 2, that was not a blockbuster. When he came out with some of that live action, that was not a blockbuster. The only real success that you can give to Iger was Pirates of the Caribbean, which was
a massive
and then his acquisition of Marvel.
But the first Pirates of the Caribbean happened before Bob Iger took over. Bob Iger took over in 2005. The first Pirates of the Caribbean movie came out in 2003.
Yeah, but he took it over when they went to
Bob Iger has a good track record
to a franchise when he did multiple movies. So that I give him credit because, originally that wasn't the intention. It was one movie. They didn't even intend it to be a blockbuster. It became a blockbuster. He was the one that says, "Okay, let's do multiple Pirates of the Caribbean." So I give him credit on that. That was smart. He also lost money because he invested in the movie personally to do Johnny Depp's The Long Ranger. Which
real quick, I am going to jump in here. I do for
real quick. I was going to say we need to wrap this up.
Yeah,
because
Although I do have a question for Tim. What gave you the impression that I'm a Raylo?
This is cute. I'm just kidding. No,
I mean you're not wrong, but I just want to know what gave it away.
I was just joking. No. No, because the way you talked about Star Wars, because I noticed when people address Star Wars, you're like, oh my God, if you like the sequel trilogy, you're wrong. I was like, no, if you like the sequel trilogy, you're not wrong. Each is your own. If you like pineapple on pizza, which I know you do, that's what gave it away. I know you like pineapple on pizza.
Okay. Let me address this. So
fuck off, Phil.
as far as
do you like to play your game on easy mode?
Whatever, Phil.
Do not drag him into this.
Whatever, Phil.
But
easy mode.
Let me talk about this whole Raylo thing. So
let Paul talk.
In reality, I don't engage in, and I'm assuming I'm using this term correctly, I don't engage in ships because to me, that's just glorified fan fiction. But I do think that, yes, it was the logical decision ultimately I think Rey and Kylo made a better couple than Rey and Finn. They just should have done that from the beginning instead of him, shoving it in the middle of The Last Jedi and making a mess.
Boom, Phil. Fuck off.
Boom what? Boom what?
And on that note, I want to thank everybody
for
That's right, Mike.
for watching this impromptu edition of Pacific 414 Pop Talk. Thank you, Tim, for popping in. Paul, thank you for popping in. Cash, Anonymous, Bill McCracken, and Crit, thank you very much. And real quick,
no,
I
bro.
am gonna.
I'm joking, bro. So.
I know, but it is rather late. I don't know about anybody else, but I know Paul's ready to wrap this up, and I'm ready to wrap this up. But I want to thank Anonymous again.
That's
That-
me.
We'll talk on my channel because
Shut up, Phil.
I also want to mention
whatever.
Max.
Hey, whatever.
Thank you, Max. Great to
Fine,
see
bro.
you here.
Whatever.
Brian, the Nerf Royal Life Form, happy birthday. Hope that hangover doesn't turn out too bad.
And I believe you have an ad that you play for me nowadays, Pacific, don't you?
I'm not gonna do it tonight, brother.
Would you please?
Do it.
Thanks to the old man, and then I'll go ahead and play the ad. I was gonna be nice.
Whatever.
I do genuinely think
Mike.
it's funny.
Fuck off.
Okay, well, you can't tell the host to fuck off because
No,
I'm in
dude,
control
you know I
here.
love you, dude. I'm
I
just joking.
don't know.
Whatever.
But-
Fuck off. Hey.
But anyways, if you
Love
or
you
a
all.
friend are playing on easy mode,
Phil, Mike
some
needs
help.
Jesus.
call 1-800-555-NOOB and get the help you need to play on a harder difficulty.
That's what she said.
Friends don't let friends play on easy mode.
Yeah.
And on that
That's
note,
what
good
Mike
night.
needs.
Good night.
Night, ball.
But thank you to Old Man, Magic Dick Mags. We also had the Paddle Wannabe. Thank you very much. We also had Felix, Star Wars Theology. Thank you, brother.
Oh, better man.
Cobra Disney. See you, Tib. Cobra Disney Jedi. We also had the Common Nerd. Thank you, brother. We also had DJ Ronnie G. Thank you. BK Dan. Thank you very much. We also had Lorenzo Sleestack. Thank you, Lorenzo. And of course, Crit. Thank you, Crit.
That crazy guy.
Everybody who was on this panel is a little crazy, wouldn't you say?
It's true.
Yes.
A little crazy.
Except for Animas, who's too smart to be crazy,
I'm
but
totally
too crazy
sane.
to be smart.
I don't know what that means, Phil.
Aim and Fate, thank you very much. And let's see. Oh yeah, I can never forget the Rich Kaiju Godzillionaire.
Godzillionaire.
And let's see. Hey guys, we did have an appearance by the former CEO, Bob Chapek.
Will work for food.
He'll land on his feet. Don't worry about it.
Peanuts. He'll be selling peanuts.
And we also had another appearance by the Smoking Patriot. He joined us earlier today to talk about the passing of Jason David Frank. And I also joined him later on, and we continued our conversation about Jason David Frank.
That was wrong of me. I shouldn't say that about Chapek. He'd probably get a job at Arby's and would be asking people, would you like a Coke with that?
Dempsey, hey, old buddy.
Cool. I don't want to ignore anybody as we're wrapping it up, but Dempsey, thanks for stopping by as we wrap this up. Definitely watch the replay, and you'll hear all our thoughts on this breaking news for this Sunday night. One Bob steps away, another Bob steps in, and the problem is, it's the same Bob. But with that being said, thank you all. I will make sure at some point Monday, probably in the evening, to get everybody's links who has a channel into the description. I do want to remind everybody that at 8 a.m. Eastern, it'll be the review portion from Saturday night's 3-year anniversary stream where Baron and I were talking about A Christmas Story Christmas. forward to hearing comments on just that portion. So thank you all for being here for this impromptu edition of Pop Talk. As always, I'm not a baseball guy. I'm an all-around guy. And all of you, have a good night and take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Anonymous. Good night, children.